The chapter on extramarital affairs, for example, Lata says that such affairs should be allowed as long as the people involved are happy and domestic duties are met. Hi, I'm Khyati. I'm an associate in the Pure Education department, and today's video is going to be a little bit different because originally I was supposed to be reviewing this book for a paid collaboration with a big publisher, but after I read the book, we ended up saying no. And here's why. Now, I didn't say no because the book was too bold or too sexual, but because when I actually ended up reading it, I realized that I couldn't stand behind some of the ideas that the book was pushing. Nor did I want my name or my organization's name to be put behind this book for money. Because let's be honest, India does not have a sex education problem. It has a sex misinformation crisis. And I just couldn't stand behind a book that was pushing some really dangerous ideals in this day and age. So when a book claims to have a bold, feminist and revolutionary take on sex, I go in expecting some discomfort. But I also expect depth, nuance and responsibility, especially since the stakes are so high for women and gender minorities. And The Toilet Seat by Lata is definitely fearless and powerful, but at times it is wrought with sweeping generalizations and straight up misinformation. And this is the part where I start to struggle. So, this isn't a sponsored review, it is an honest one. We're going to talk about where this book gets things right and where it ends up falling a bit short. Just to give a bit more context about the book, The Toilet Seat was originally written in Tamil and then translated into English and republished by HarperCollins. I am reading the English translated version. I'm now going to read a bit of the blurb. Though sex is considered a dirty word in Indian society, its role in our lives is undeniable. The Toilet Seat takes a deep dive into how sex is perceived and portrayed. With fearless honesty, it dissects myths, exposes hypocrisy, and challenges rigid ideas about love, fidelity, and pleasure. I'm going to be very honest, when I first read the blurb, I was really excited because I was expecting this deeply personal and fearless take into sex and pleasure and how it is perceived and portrayed in Indian society. Just paraphrasing what the blurb says. But when I actually ended up reading the book, it turned out to be something completely else, and that's what I'm going to do a deep dive into today. The book begins with a deeply personal introduction where the author recounts her experiences of facing sexual abuse in her childhood at the hands of her own uncle. It sets the tone for what follows. A deeply emotional and uncomfortable exploration of sex, desire, fidelity, trauma, and repression. The title itself is a very sharp metaphor where Lata has compared the plight of women, especially in the context of marriages and relationships, to that of a toilet seat. Something that you use, leave, and rarely ever care for. It's deeply unsettling and very hard to forget, and you carry this with you while you're reading the book. From the start, Lata makes it very clear that this is a book that's not offering any solutions and it isn't backed by any academic research. Rather, it's rooted in her own personal experiences and is a commentary on the kind of conversations that she's had with other people. And this is where I personally start to struggle with this book. Not only are there random studies and facts thrown around the book, but in a country where sex education is nearly non-existent and misinformation runs deep, especially for women and gender minorities, we need more than just passionate storytelling. What we need is nuanced, accurate and responsible narratives. Too often, the toilet seat feels like a monologue rather than a dialogue. Let's take the chapter on extramarital affairs, for example. Lata says that such affairs should be allowed as long as the people involved are happy and domestic duties are met. I'm going to read out an excerpt from this chapter. So, if you come to know that your partner or spouse has fallen in love with someone else, just brush it aside and continue to be how you have always been with them. Do not push them into a corner by asking them questions that make them feel guilty about what they are doing. Just ignore everything and simply observe the transformation at home when they come back a happier person. They will be in a better state of mind and they will spread happiness around them. Granted, this will be a very hard thing to do initially, but it will bring the desired effect of creating joy and happiness within your family. Throughout this chapter, Lata suggests that marriage is a structure that is meant to restrict natural human desires. Questioning your partner just leads to unnecessary conflict. While I understand that she is trying to push back against rigid ideals of monogamy, the way that this entire argument is framed feels very shallow, and it assumes a level playing field which doesn't really exist, especially for women trapped in unequal relationships. I personally feel that a deeper conversation about monogamy, emotional labor, and consent would have been far more impactful. The book veers into even more problematic territory when Lata, in the chapter titled The Toilet Seat, writes, "A woman, even if she wishes to, cannot rape a man, because a man's organ cannot be forced into her hole unless the man wishes for it." Very untrue. And I find it very problematic that such misinformation is being put in a book that is readily available to people. There's also this paragraph in the chapter titled Secrecy, Suppression and Education. And I have this highlighted here, I'll read it out. "There are boys who get molested and abused by adult men and women, and in some cases the boys end up becoming excited by such encounters. It becomes an obsession with them." Again, the framing of this entire argument just feels so often so problematic, and because it's not backed by any research and it's just a plain statement, I find it very, very hard to get behind. Now to get into a portion that I find the most problematic and the one that I take the utmost offense to. It's in a chapter called Role of Parents in Child Sexual Abuse. And she writes, "There is absolutely no need to teach children about good touch, bad touch and all that. I know this is a rather controversial stand to have right now, but such teachings will only force the children to analyze every single touch and interaction. It will make them confused and afraid of everything and everyone. Kids have a natural and innate ability to feel all this. Their instincts are strong until we corrupt them with our foolish beliefs." As someone who works in the space of sexual education, this statement is very alarming, especially because in a country like ours, there is minimal or no access to sex education at all. And the minute we open the news in our country, we see the consequences of that. And to then put such kind of a statement in a book is deeply, deeply problematic and something that I can never stand by. There's a lot of generalization in the writing, and unfortunately I cannot read out every single paragraph that I've highlighted that I personally found problematic. My major issue with this book is that very complex issues like sexual abuse, trauma, infidelity and repression are talked about in one-size-fits-all statements. At times it feels like the author, or rather the book here, has already decided what is right and what is wrong and just wants to pull the reader along with them, rather than giving them a space to question, reflect and engage with such important issues. That said, the book isn't without its strengths. Lata is opening up conversations about topics that many would not want to talk about, especially when it comes to topics like women's pleasure, the lack of foreplay in heterosexual marriages, and the emotional neglect that comes with it. She openly writes about the female orgasm, dissatisfaction in the bedroom, and male entitlement that dictates the rhythm of sex. In the book, Lata also talks about the importance of sex education and the need to talk about sex in a very open manner, not without any secrecy, and that is something that I quite admire. Although when we come to the ending chapters of the book, she does complicate a lot of these statements, something that I've already talked about. Her approach to a lot of these topics feel very confusing at times, especially when she links the idea of perversion to rape. It completely ignores the fact that sexual violence is about dominance, control, and power, and not desire gone wrong. She also romanticizes the idea of love to a point where it almost feels utopian, even though throughout the book she acknowledges the weight of patriarchy. Despite aiming to dismantle conventional narratives, the book is quite heteronormative. It presents love and sex through a narrow binary lens that completely leaves out asexual and queer identities. Her assertions that love without sex is meaningless and that wet chats with strangers are perverse feel very tone deaf and moralistic. To be very honest, The Toilet Seat by Lata left me with very mixed feelings. I respect what Lata is trying to do. It takes courage to talk about sex so openly, especially in a society where even whispering the word feels like a rebellion. It raises very pertinent questions and it gives voice to women and certain gender minorities and makes them feel seen and heard. But the lack of research, sweeping generalization, and the occasional misinformation makes it very hard to fully embrace her message. So, what are my final thoughts about this book? While I definitely believe that this book could have been a great conversation starter, instead, it feels more like a one sided rant. I appreciate the effort, but at the end of the day, I'm left wondering about the impact. And ultimately, I felt like sometimes it's more important to choose integrity over a brand deal, and that is why we ended up rejecting this collaboration. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, like, and share, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. More details about our awesome sex ed course and other important resources are going to be put in the bio. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.